Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Terror Talks. I'm your host, Jeremy, and today we are here on episode 36, where we are talking all about Folklore Haunted House. So this is a haunted house that we sort of found last year just by sheer happenstance. We never actually got to visit it last year, but it was one we discovered while kind of running through our search engines looking for all the haunted houses that we could potentially visit. And this one popped up. It fit the bill, and I said, you know what? Let's check it out. It's located in Ackworth, Georgia. Like I said, we'd never been there before, but we thought it would be worth a shot to try. And our job is to review the haunts, and we review them all. Some of the smallest and some of the biggest. So here we go. On Saturday, September 25th, Folklore Haunted House opened their doors to their first unsuspecting victims for the 2021 haunt season with their 3 attractions, the Manor, the Asylum, and Overload, as well as their Midway of Mayhem. This haunted attraction has been dubbed Atlanta's infamous haunted house and has been featured on Fox 5, Big Scary Show, NBC, and USA's Greatest Haunts. As I said, this was our first year getting to attend the haunt after unsuccessfully attempting to go last year. And now we finally got our chance to attend, and we were very, very excited about this. So we decided to include it as part of our sort of North Georgia tour of haunted houses this year. So we managed to go. But would things be everything we hoped? Would the haunt live up to its title as Atlanta's infamous haunted house? Would we be in for a terrifying treat or a horrific failure? Let's find out as we dissect Folklore Haunted House.
Enjoy the experience.
The irony here is don't go low.
I know you're going
I
to
know.
go.
I do it. I go around and review haunts.
Really?
So
Oh, I promise you're going to get this one later.
I hope so.
You have to.
I hope so.
It's a
So
possibility.
I've already been to one tonight. So I went to Carolina Camp. So this is second, and then after this I'm going to Containment and Oakland. So hitting all the 3 big Atlanta haunts. Except Netherwood. We haven't gone to Netherwood this year yet.
I promise it's the best.
I hope so. I'm excited. I wanted to come last year, and it just didn't work out the way I wanted it to. So
Are you going to do all 3 attractions? First
So
one
of
of the
course,
night?
you all 3, yeah.
Yeah, you have to.
I gotta go through all 3. Come on.
This is your time. All right?
Yeah, let's do
Let's
it.
go. Go straight down that main hallway right there after it's on.
All right, thank you. Yeah. Oh wow, this is impressive. Oh my God!
I hope it's because you're hungry.
Sure, I haven't eaten,
We've got
so
a pretty gutsy meal Nick put you.
good deal. That's what I like to hear. Oh, sweet. Wow. Detail in here is phenomenal. So for this year's haunt review, we are breaking down each of our haunts that we're visiting into 6 categories: sets, costumes, makeup, SFX, technical effects, scares, pacing, and actors. Each category is rated on a scale of 1 to 5 screams and then averaged out to give an overall rating. This new system is to ensure that we are not in any way biased and are giving each attraction that we visit the same fair and equal treatment and rating that they deserve. Because this particular haunt has 3 attractions, we're going to be breaking down all 3 attractions, and then we will average the scores together for each category, and then take the average of each category to get that overall rating. So, let's just start with some initial thoughts. So first and foremost, as you look for Folklore, you may be kind of surprised to find it is situated inside of a little small town main street in North Georgia. And honestly, if you didn't know what you were looking for, you probably wouldn't even know it was there. Because I'll tell you, from the main roads, there is no finding it. And truth be told, I'm not really sure I saw any billboards or advertisements, anything outside of the social media realm to let me know where I was going. So it actually is rather difficult to find. But once you arrive there, you pretty much kind of know that you're in the right place. But all you really see is this large structure. And when I say large, it really is a very, very large structure. But it is poorly lit. You cannot really read the words folklore up at the top. It's very difficult to see those words, so you're kind of wondering, am I in the right place? And luckily, there's a little sign, little handmade sign out in the road that says haunted house, and it's got an arrow pointing into the parking lot, so you know you're in the right place at that point. But just from looking at it at a glance, you kind of say, is this the right place? Is this folklore? And yes, you are right. That is folklore. You have found it. If you're on a small town main street up in Ackworth, Georgia, and you don't see anything else around, you have found your way there. So then, on top of the building itself not being very lit, the parking lot is not the most lit either. It's basically just kind of got the typical lighting that you would see at any haunted house, or not any haunted house, almost like a neighborhood street light kind of thing. There's no like bright lights out in the parking lot just to kind of make you feel a little more comfortable being where you are. And where I find this is a problem is the fact that the haunted house is situated on the edge of some woods there. So I would kind of like to have a little bit more lighting. Plus, if I'm an out-of-towner, I don't really know the area. I don't know if this area is safe, if it is not safe. I don't know where I am. And for that reason, we want to have some more lights so that your audience can feel a little bit safer about being there. Not saying they're in a bad part of town. I truthfully don't know. It seemed all right, but you got to cover those bases. You want to create an unsettling environment once you get near the house, not all the way out in the parking lot. So that's something that, they should fix. And then one other thing to note is when I arrived there wasn't a whole lot of actors running around out in the Midway of Mayhem is what they're dubbing it. There wasn't many actors out there. There was, I think I counted 2 that were running around. One was a guy in like a top hat, and the other one I don't really think I ever got to come into contact with him. But there was only 2 of them the whole time. And for me, that was just a little kind of disappointing. Because, when I'm out there, I want at least 4, 5, maybe even 6 actors running around. And what I will also say is that it was not as crowded as it may have been. And so that might be why they don't have all the actors out there. But I still think they should have them out there regardless, because the people who are there still want that full experience. So, all in all, not a great initial response when we arrived there, honestly. I could not really tell where the house entrance was. I didn't realize how they had it situated out there. I didn't realize I saw where the exit of one was, but I knew that they had 3 different houses, so I was trying to figure out where are they? How do I get to them? And then I couldn't find the ticket booth either, and there was no clear signage. There's nothing pointing my way to anything. And so that was a little irritating, because it's like, oh, where am I? Am I in the right place? Did I take a wrong turn? It's back again. You're trying to figure out where you are. So that lack of signage really hurts them in a way, because you could have people there who don't even realize you have 3 haunts when they arrive, but because there's no signage, they may go through one and go, oh, that's it, okay. And unless your workers take the initiative to tell you that there's another haunt, then, you're kind of stuck in a rut. But luckily, I was able to get some information, find out where the ticket booth was, purchase my tickets, and kind of find my way around. And so that was good that I finally was able to do that. But, again, those signs, you need some signs at your house to let you know where everything is, because the first haunt is right there at the front. Like, that you can kind of tell more or less. But then to get to the second house, you have to go around the back of the building, which is also a little kind of like, oh, why would you do that? Like, it just seems a little suspect to me. And then the third house is even further back behind the building. And if you didn't know it was back there, if you didn't have someone to help you, you would not be able to find your way. So we're not off to a great start with Folklore. Definitely some things that they've got to fix up in terms of making it a little more user-friendly for people who are coming in there. But enough about that. Let's break down these categories. We'll be starting the first half of the show. We'll be talking about the sets, costume, makeup, and special effects, and then technical effects. Then we'll take a short little break and come back and talk about scares, pacing, the actors and the team, and then we will reveal that overall rating for Folklore Haunted House and tell you how you can buy tickets for this season. So, let's get to it.
You're real. You're real. Oh, God! Oh, sweet!
So, as any good haunt fan knows, the sets are a vital part of any haunted house. And at Folklore, this is very, very important, especially when you have 3 different haunted houses, all of which are supposed to be different locations, unique locations. So, I would say that Folklore did a pretty good job with the majority of their sets, except for when they didn't. So, let's kind of break down what I mean by that. So, the mansion was very impressive. They got a 5 out of 5 on their sets. The Asylum, or Asylum 67, however you want to refer to it, got a 4 out of 5. And the reason I say that was because I thought it was equally good. It was just as good as the mansion. I was still very impressed. The detail was precise. But there were some not so great parts. There was a lot of blank walls in parts of it. All you really saw was the ghastly hospital green walls that just took away from the experience. It didn't really tell much of a story, but there was one room that was done very simplistically in that house that really impressed me, and it was the padded room. And this room was done with a very simple technical effect that we'll get into a little bit later, but that was like awesome. I thought that was such a cool thing. I'd never seen it done before. But then you have Overload. And in my opinion, Overload is like that redheaded stepchild of the group. And we're going to see a recurring theme through a lot of this as we go. There was not a lot of set to Overload. There truthfully wasn't. In fact, I gave them a 2 out of 5 screams total for the sets in Overload because there just wasn't anything. All you did was walked around a maze of like prison cages, and that was basically the extent of it. There might have been a couple themed out scenes, maybe 1 or 2, but even they were hardly themed out. There was nothing really amazing. When you first entered, you thought you might be in for something really cool because you enter into this sort of control room scene, and it like looks really good. And that's when you get dumped into the maze of cages, and all you really have is a bunch of I don't even know what. I don't even know what to say. Like, it's just a bunch of cages. You feel like you're in a prison of sorts. But I will say that that little control room area at the very beginning is what kind of saved this attraction from getting a 1 out of 5 screams. Because I really was not impressed with it. There was not a lot to see. But then the other 2 were amazing, so I'm not really sure what happened. But yeah, through the other 2, very good sets, very impressive. But the third one was pretty pitiful when you put the 3 up against each other. And so overall, that gives sets a 3.5 out of 5 screams.
So you
Whoa, what is this?
Come here. Come closer. You are about to witness one of the greatest new discoveries of the human body. You want me to come you over to see yours?
No, that's all right. Oh. Oh my God!
Have some wine. It's made from my sister's blood.
Only if it's real.
Sister's blood.
So up next we have the costumes, makeup, and special effects category. So the Mansion scored a 5 out of 5, the Asylum scored a 5 out of 5, and Overload scored a 4 out of 5, giving us a total, all in all, 5 screams for this category. So in all of the haunts at Folklore, the production team does a very good job with making sure everybody has a costume and makeup, making sure that they are detailed, they're very impressive, they tell a story. And all of that detail work is, like I said, very impressive and well received by our team. So throughout the Mansion and the Asylum, we saw a lot of varied uses of makeup and costumes depending on which one you were in. Then at Overload, the few actors we did encounter had some good costumes, but I was still unsure of what exactly we were dealing with, which is why I gave it a 4 out of 5. I didn't really understand the premise of this house going into it, and after having gone through it and encountering the various creatures, monsters, what have you, I still didn't get it. So, like I said, it was clear the monsters that came up to me, I mean, I could see they were in costume and they were good costumes and they were good makeup, but I didn't really know what exactly we were dealing with here. There was no clear picture. At one point, there was a person who came up in like an orange prison jumpsuit and I didn't get it. And I was just kind of like, is she a prisoner? So I wasn't really sure. I had to use my imagination to kind of unbox this house and figure out things. But nonetheless, the makeup, costumes, all that fun stuff was actually done very well. It was very interesting and very fun, very fun. We enjoyed ourselves in that one. So that is a 5 out of 5 screams for makeup and costumes.
I know one of you is real. I just don't know which one. Okay, maybe none of them were real. Oh, nice.
So up next we have the technical effects for Folklore. So the Mansion got 5 out of 5, the Asylum got 4 out of 5, and Overload got 2 out of 5, leading to a grand total of 3 out of 5 screams for technical effects. So as I've often said, the technical effects are becoming more and more relevant in haunted houses these days, and that is true for either, your typical little backyard haunts or major haunted attractions as well. And you will see some form of technical effects, whether it be audio, lighting, animatronics, fog, lasers, moving floors, moving set pieces. You name it, they've got it typically. It doesn't matter what type of house you go to. And at Folklore, you can see these effects being used in a couple of different ways. So when you visit the Mansion, the lighting and sound is used to create this ambiance of fear. You feel as though you've entered into this dilapidated mansion and that there is no escape. They did some really, really cool things in here with a couple animatronics, like dead bodies and whatnot, kind of thriving about the table. But one thing that I was really impressed with, and it kept me like looking for it the rest of the time I was there, was the toilets. And I know how that sounds. It sounds really, really funny and really weird, but it's true. So in the mansion, there's a scene you walk by where you're kind of like walking through a bathroom or whatever. And I didn't even notice it at first. The guy walking behind me kind of pointed it out to me. And inside the toilet, they like did an effect. I don't know if it was a lighting effect, a screen effect, what exactly it was, but they essentially made it look like there were maggots and worms and stuff crawling around on the inside of the toilet. Like, it was very, very impressive. It was done very well. Then, if you visit the asylum, the lighting and sound is equally good at creating this uneasy feeling of being in an asylum. You know, you got the low lighting, almost kind of like a fluorescent sort of lighting as you walk through. The soundtrack is awesome. It's fantastic. Now, it doesn't have nearly as many technical effects as the other one, and so that's kind of why I gave it the 4 out of 5. But there was one scene that is definitely a notable scene that I was really impressed by, and it was the padded room scene. I spoke about this during the set portion, and the way they did it was they used a lighting effect on a blank wall, a set of blank walls, and they used a gobo lighting. If you don't know what a gobo lighting is, it is like a pattern light. So you put this thing inside of the light and it creates a pattern. It looks like texture. And it made the room look like you were in a padded rubber room. And so the effect was done beautifully. It was perfectly achieved. I was very, very impressed because I felt like I was in the padded room. So good on them for that. But then we're down at Overload. And like I said, Overload, the red-headed stepchild. What do we do with you? The effects down here are not nearly as impressive. And in fact, there really isn't many effects at all. The only use I saw of any special effects, or technical effects, I should say, were the little siren sort of thing, the siren light, the police light, but it was like an orange one, so I guess it was more like a construction light. And they had a bunch of these all throughout, and you heard sirens wailing. And so it was not very impressive in terms of technical effects. Nothing really magical or imaginative happened in this one, and definitely did not live up to the caliber of the 2 upstairs haunt. This is what I consider kind of the basement haunt, because it was the lowest in the building and was the furthest away from everything else. And in my opinion, it just wasn't very good. So, all in all, technical effects get a 3 out of 5 screams. All right, we're going to take a short little break to hear from our sponsor. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the scares, pacing, and the actors and team. We're going to give you that overall scream rating, and then we're going to tell you how you can buy tickets for Folklore Haunted Attraction. Don't go anywhere. Hey there, Terror Talk fans. Are you looking for a new way to let your voice be heard? If so, check out our friends at Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for creating your very own podcast. They offer editing tools to create your podcast, which include your audio, listener audio, unique transitions, and custom advertisements. In addition, they'll also help you distribute your podcast to other listener sources, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many others. With this unique app, you also have the chance to get paid for your podcast by simply placing ads for various sponsors in your videos. Best part of it all? It is 100% free. Anchor does all the work for you and makes podcasting as simple as turning on a light. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM. Whether you're new to podcasting, doing it as a hobby, or hosting a professional show, Anchor is the place for you. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, here on episode 36 of the Terror Talks, where we are talking all about Folklore Haunted House and the 3 haunted attractions, the Mansion, the Asylum, or Asylum 67, and Overload. Before the break, we broke down our 3 categories: technical effects, costumes, makeup, special effects, and the sets, giving us our ratings for those. And now we're going to talk about the scares, the pacing, and the actors and the team behind Folklore Haunted Attraction. We'll then give you our overall rating for this attraction, as well as tell you how you can buy tickets today to visit. So, let's just dive right in. So let's start off with the scares. So, for the Mansion, we gave the scares 4 out of 5. For the Asylum, we gave them a 3 out of 5. And Overload, we gave a 1 out of 5. Bringing us to a grand total of 3 out of 5 screams. So obviously we know everyone scares differently. Some people will drop to the floor and tremble at the sight of a scare, where others will run like a complete maniac. And yes, I've been with those people before. And then some people won't do anything at all. I'm the type of person who will jump if he gets scared and will audibly say anything to signal that I was indeed scared. So if I'm jumping, then anybody else who is sensitive to scares will jump. So at Folklore, the number of scares I had appeared to be related to which house I was in. So what I mean by that is when I was in the Mansion, there were several great scares that got me every time. But it wasn't this big, overwhelming number to the point where I had to crawl out of there. There were some moments where I actually laughed and interacted with the actors. And that's always fun too. Then in the Asylum, the scares seemed to go down even less. And the places that I did get scared were great scares, don't get me wrong, but there just seemed to be a lot fewer places for them to occur. So that is always slightly disappointing. When you go through a haunted house, you want as many scares as possible. So if there aren't many, then that's always kind of sad. But it did allow me to look at the scenery a little bit more and take all that in. So I guess there was a plus side, kind of. I mean, I did jump a couple times, but it was mainly just kind of a walk around. Oh, look at this, look at that sort of attraction. Then Overload. Overload, what can we do with you? We received a huge disappointment in terms of scares in this place. There literally weren't any. In fact, I don't think I jumped once in that one, and that was very, very disappointing. And there was supposed to be one scare that apparently was catching everybody off guard, and the guy at the front warned us about it, and we never got it. It never happened. Or maybe we did get it, and it just wasn't as crazy as he made it out to seem like it was. But it was not a scary house at all. In fact, it was very much a huge, huge, huge letdown going through there. It was a huge bummer because we didn't get scared. We didn't get much of anything, and that seems to be the case a lot with Overload, is that we didn't get a whole lot. So I don't know if maybe it was just an off night or if that's just generally the way it is, but it was very disappointing to walk through that one. So overall, scares for Folklore got a 3 out of 5 screams. Up next, we've got the pacing.
Oh man, it's not over yet. That's awesome. Oh. Ah! Ah! Yeah, I was pretty impressed. I enjoyed that.
So, in the Mansion, we gave them a 4 out of 5. The Asylum, we gave a 4 out of 5. And Overload, we gave a 1 out of 5, leading to a total of 3 out of 5 screams. So, I suppose the pacing all depends on which house you're going through. If you're going through Mansion or Asylum 67, then you get a pretty good show. But you go through it pretty quick. I mean, there's a lot to see, and they probably spend about up to 10 minutes, give or take. But because it's only about 10 minutes, I did have to dock them a scream. Just because, I want a long haunted house. And I want to experience a lot of scares and a lot of screams and a lot of stuff. And if I don't get that, then I leave very disappointed. Now, I will say they did good with the length of them with what they had, I suppose, and maybe they used up all the space that they possibly could have. But it seems to me like they had room to do a whole lot more because they told me that this was a very large building. Not to mention there were other buildings that looked like they weren't even being used. So I'm kind of curious about what exactly was going on. Because I just feel like they could be a lot longer, but it only took me about 10 minutes through each of them. Then when we went down to Overload, or as I call it, the basement haunt, the pacing was just not there. It was not great. In fact, we ran into the group in front of us, and we're watching them get scared. So at that point, we weren't really getting any scares anymore. Not that we were to begin with, but we sort of ran into them, and it just felt like we were going on a little leisurely stroll through the cages. And the whole thing was over before it hardly even began. I don't think it was even halfway as long as the two upstairs haunts. I feel like it was probably about 5 minutes, maybe less. And had we not gotten stopped by the group, it probably would have been even less. So, not good. I mean, 1 out of 5 for Overload. The overall length of it was pretty bad, and the pacing just did not work. So, all things considered, that makes pacing a 3 out of 5 screams.
You're the new donors, aren't you? No.
I love my new patient.
We got a bed all made up for
I want you to die to it! Your hands are killing my children! I'll get to see you later!
Hey, somebody! You my best. Oh, nice. That was cool.
So up next, we have the actors and the team members at Folklore Haunted Attractions. So for the Mansion, we gave them a 5 out of 5. For the Asylum, we gave them a 4 out of 5. And for Overload, we gave them a 4 out of 5, making it a total of 4 out of 5 screams. So the actors and team members at Folklore were very, very devoted the whole time we were there, and it was very evident from every interaction that we had. The first booth I went up to, I ended up speaking to who I didn't realize it at the time was the marketing manager, and he was very thrilled to have me there and just so excited that I came out. And I spoke with the people at the front of each house, and they were just beaming from ear to ear and insisted that I had a great time. Like, you could tell they were very, very excited that I was there. The actors inside the house were incredibly devoted to each of their roles, and none of them broke character. At least not that I could tell. The only reason that I gave them a 4 out of 5 screams for Asylum and Overload was because there just weren't as many actors in there as I were hoping there would be. And that being said, the ones that were in there did remain devoted and stayed in character for the entirety of the time that we were there. And that's why we only took 1 scream from them. But nonetheless, we would have preferred a lot more actors in Overload and some more in the Asylum. Asylum had a decent amount still, but Overload desperately needed some. But overall, the team, the actors, everybody was very, very friendly, and they seemed to really enjoy what they were doing. And they all supported each other and all know each other, and they had a genuine excitement about coming to work. And that's the best thing that we can hope for. It's the best thing that they can possibly have at these attractions. So good on them for that. So let's review what we have. So for the sets, we have a 3.5 out of 5 screams. For costume, makeup, and special effects, we have 5 screams. For technical effects, we have 3 out of 5 screams. For scares, we have 3 out of 5 screams. For pacing, we have 3 out of 5 screams. And for the actors and team members, we have 4 out of 5 screams. So that brings us to an overall rating of, drumroll please, 4 screams. That's right, we are rating Folklore Haunted House as a 4 out of 5 screams haunted house. So overall, Folklore is a very neat haunted house to go to, but you just have to be prepared for what you may encounter on this trip. You may go in and think that it was amazing, but at the same time, you may not. The Manor and the Asylum are actually very nice, but then Overload, you leave feeling slightly overwhelmed. And that being said, I know that the team here worked very hard to make this haunt a reality, and I commend them for their great work, because I know that it really does take a village to do what they do, and that does not go unnoticed. I can promise them that without a shadow of a doubt. Everything that they do, I give them the highest praises for, just for the fact that they're willing to go out there and build these haunts each year for their guests. I mean, that means something, because they care, and you can tell that they care. And yes, there are a couple minor things that they need to go back and reevaluate and fix. And, maybe it won't be fixed this year in the 2021 season, but I do hope that it will be fixed in the 2022 season. But either way, we enjoyed our trip, and it was still very, very fun to go there. And hopefully, we'll get to make it back up there for some of their special events. Their social media manager or marketing manager, however you want to call it, told me about a couple of really neat events they're doing. Apparently, they're doing a Christmas haunt, and you can go to their website for information on that. If everything is still going as planned, they will do a Valentine's haunt. And then finally, an 80s themed haunt. That's the one we're most excited about, because they say it's going to be like going through an actual 1980s horror movie. So I'm really excited about that. I hope that does get to become a reality, and I hope that we're going to get to attend that. And we're going to try our best to bring y'all the best possible coverage that we can on Folklore Haunted Attractions. So congratulations, Folklore, on a 4 scream rating. You worked hard. Your team definitely deserves it, and I do look forward to returning next season and as well for some of the special events. And I hope all of my listeners get a chance to go check out Folklore Haunted House this season as well. And be sure to let us know what you think. Maybe you agree with us, maybe you don't. We want to hear your thoughts, and we want you to play along at home and let us know, did we hit the nail right on the head, or were we off by a couple marks? Let us know. So keep on going down and listening, and you will hear how you can purchase tickets to Folklore Haunted House. So you can purchase tickets when you arrive at Folklore Haunted House, or you can purchase them online as well. All tickets are good for any day in the haunt season. General admission to all 3 haunted houses, wait times will vary, can range anywhere from $26 to $29. It depends on the evening that you go. RIP admission is general admission, plus you get to enter the Fast Pass line, which is usually 1/3 the wait time. Then you can individually buy different things. Oh, and by the way, the RIP admission, you will add $15 to whatever you pay to your general admission price. Then you can buy each of the houses individually and say you only want to go through 1 or 2 or 3 of them. You know, if you only going to want to go through 1 of them, or maybe you only want to go through 2 of them, you can buy those individually. So the Manor is $14 individually. Asylum 67 is $14, and Overload is $8. And then they have a bonus attraction called the Last Ride, which is basically you get in a coffin, and it's like you're getting buried, and that is $5, $5 attraction. Folklore Haunted House will be open on select evenings from September 25th through November 6th, with some special events happening on select evenings. Check out Folklore's website for more information. What we mean by those special events are things like Ladies' Night and Half Off Night, that type of thing. So you got to go look on their website for that, because there was just a lot of different things, and we don't want to give any false information on that. Every night, the attraction will open at 7:30 p.m. and will end at a different time depending on which evening you are attending. Be sure to check out their website and calendar for those specific dates. You can follow their social media for more information and to keep up with them. Their Facebook is Folklore Haunted House, or at Folklore Haunted House. Instagram is at folklore.hauntedhouse. Twitter is at Folklore Haunt. Snapchat is Folklore Haunted House. YouTube is Folklore Haunted House. And their website is folklorehauntedhouse.com. They are located at 5389 North Main Street, Ackworth, Georgia, 30101. So be sure to go check out Folklore Haunted House this season and let us know what you think. Like I said before, maybe you don't agree with our ratings, and maybe you do. You can send in your thoughts to us at theterrortalks@gmail.com, or you can just comment on our videos and our posts and whatnot and let us know what you think. Feel free to play along at home. We love to hear from our listeners. But that is going to do it for us today on episode 36 of the Terror Talks, where we are talking all about Folklore Haunted House. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to comment, subscribe, rate, like, all that good stuff down below. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like. You can contact us directly at theterrortalks@gmail.com, or you can get in touch with us on any one of our social media websites. Feel free to listen to our podcast on all the listening platforms. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Stitcher, and so many other ones. Just go down there and check out what we are on. Feel free to go check out our website. It's listed in the description, theterrortalks.wixsite.com/website, I think is the thing. That's wrong. The correct one is in the description below. If you want to give us a little bit of extra support, you can check out our Patreon. We love to get that extra support from you guys, and that allows us to, receive donations and that type of thing. That way we can put out more content. We can upgrade our equipment. We can create merch. We can do all sorts of things that we couldn't do ourselves. And of course, we still try to make them happen, but it is a little bit difficult when we are on such a tight budget. But if you want to support us, you can do that via the Patreon, or you can actually go to our website, on either the website or on the Anchor app and website. There is a location where you can donate a little bit of money to us. It doesn't have to be much. All we ask for from you guys is what you can give. If all you can give is $1, we'll take $1. If you can offer us $100, we'll take $100. If you can only offer us 25 cents, we will take that 25 cents. Every little bit helps to build us up so that we can further the channel and do more great things for you guys. Finally, we want to thank you guys so much for listening to our episodes each time we put one out. I know sometimes we don't have the best schedule. We don't really have a set schedule for the podcast. And I'm hoping in the future we might try to remedy that. And, of course, around Halloween season, when we're trying to put out reviews, we want to get them out before Halloween season is over. So we're just kind of cramming them all in, throwing them out as quickly as we possibly can. But, we appreciate y'all hanging in there with us and checking out each of our episodes. So until next time, thank you guys so much for being a part of the show. We hope you go check out Folklore Haunted House. We know we enjoyed it, and we think you will as well. So until next time, be safe out there. Don't text and drive, and be excellent to each other. Take care, everybody.